Very good morning to all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So in the last lecture, we discussed about the starting of the transmission line. So transmission line is nothing but a one kind of a medium at which you can transmit the electromagnetic wave from one location to the another one. If you deal with a lower frequency application, then it is considered a power transmission line. If you deal with a high frequency application, then you can consider the simple transmission line. So we discuss about the different transmission line like a coaxial cable, two parallel wires, a waveguide, microstrip line, and the strip line. So these are the different bounded medium will be utilized for the transmission of the electromagnetic wave. And you can also utilize the free space, which is nothing but a wireless medium for the transmission of the electromagnetic waves. So different conductor have a different application, like a coaxial cable have a two different conductor. Both the conductor are separated with some dielectric constant. Two parallel wire are separated with a free space. In terms of the waveguide, which is a metallic hollow plate, which is nothing but a bounded medium. Microstrip line, it's an open end structure where you are given the plus charge to the particular strip, and the second metallic ground plane have a zero voltage, so it will be generate the electric field from plus to minus. But this open end structure have a some kind of a higher radiation loss because they are open in a free space. So that's why this structure is slightly modified, and you can see the structure is a strip line where there is a two different metallic ground plane, and the your strip line it's just sandwiched between these two metallic ground plane. So in both the cases the radiation loss will be less compared to the micro strip line. So represent this transmission line in terms of the mathematical in terms of the graphical form. So suppose you have a simple conductor, we are located this conductor in a above some ground plane. So ground plane have a zero voltage, it means it is a totally zero ground voltage. So this conductor has some resistance. This resistance depends upon the whatever the material you are preferring, like a copper, aluminum, gold, silver. So depending upon the resistivity, the R is always present. So that's why you can see the structure, the R is always in a series. Same way, if you have wound this conductor in a simple rod, then it can be act as a some inductor if I given the some time varying current. If R is present, definitely G is also present because G is inversely proportional to the R. So if R is in series, you can mention the G, which is nothing but a present between your conductor to the ground plane. And same way, the conductor have a plus charges, then the ground have a zero voltage, so it may be act as some kind of a capacitance. So capacitance, which is nothing but a, say, a parallel connection with your ground plane as well as the conductor. So this is the overall circuit, overall equivalent circuit in terms of the RLGC. So if the elements which may be located RLGC, which is in terms of the simple values like a ohm, Henry, Siemens or Faraday, then it is considered as a lumped elements. But in terms of the distributed elements, we are measuring the value in terms of the per unit length. So suppose your conductor have a length is approximately 10 kilometers, so it may be possible the R is also changed within the some particular range. So they are mentioning the ohm per meter, Henry per meter, Siemens per meter, as well as the Faraday per meter. So this is the equivalent circuit of your lossy transmission line. Like it may be asked, draw the equivalent circuit of your lossless transmission line. So for the lossless, already you are knowing this is only possible whenever the input which may be similar to the output, then it is considered it's only possible whenever you are putting the R is equal to 0. If R is 0, then G becomes a infinite. So if you see the overall circuit of the equivalent circuit in terms of the lossless transmission line, then there is only two components, L and C are present. R is 0 and G is the infinite. These are some of the mathematical equation in terms of the different transmission line, like a coaxial cable, what is the R value, what is L, and what is G and C. And for same case, the parallel wire, what is the RLGC, and for the parallel plate, what is the value of RLGC. So this value which we are derived in terms of the either dimension or either whatever the material you are preferring. You can see the equation of the coaxial line, the value of the R is, it depends upon the diameter A and B as well as the whatever the conductivity of this particular conductor. So the value of this particular conductor, like a mu epsilon, this can be characterized in terms of the medium. Like if I'm changing the medium, definitely your conductivity mu and epsilon parameter are changed. So for a simple conductor, it means it's some kind of a homogeneous medium. But practically we are also deal with a non-homogeneous medium where there is a field will be similar, because one of the application is you can consider the antenna, where antenna is one of the device which can convert electrical to electromagnetic wave. And same case, the free space is another medium where the electric field is also the present. So in both the medium, you have a similar electric field, but the medium is different. That's why this is considered as a non-homogeneous medium. So according to this mu and epsilon, we are compared with the inductor and the capacitor, which is characterized with the inductor and the C. So this is exactly representation of the field distribution for the transmission line. Suppose you have a coaxial cable, we are given some as an input, which have a input voltage is Vg and the input resistance is Rg. And at the end of this particular conductor, we are consider one of the load resistance over here. So if you see the field distribution, always they are moving from inside to outside, because inside have a plus charge, outside have a minus charge. So this solid line which is indicate the direction of the electric field, and this dashed line which is indicate the magnetic field line, because both the conductor carry some current. So now we are interested to find out the potential as well as the current if you have a transmission line. So before we going to this particular topic, we discuss about the TEM mode, TE mode as well as the TE mode. Like suppose you are designing some conductor, but how we can know which frequency which is exactly propagated through this particular conductor. You have a 1 meter you have a 10 micrometer diameter, sorry 10 micrometer diameter, maybe 1 meter diameter. So if you increase or decrease the thickness as well as the length of the conductor, it may be possible whatever the range of the frequency which is supported by your conductor, which may be slightly different. So that's why we discuss about this modes, which are nothing but a TEM mode, TE mode as well as the TM mode. So for any specific transmission line which is supported out of this three mode, most of the transmission line which is supported the TEM mode. TEM mode means is transverse electric magnetic waves or transverse electromagnetic mode. In this case, transverse is meaning of the transverse means one of the field components should be the perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. Any one of the component should be the perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. So that's why it is considered as a transverse electromagnetic. For the TE mode, the magnetic field component will be present, but the electric field component will be zero. And for the TM mode, magnetic field components will be zero and the electric field component is present. That's why it is considered as a transverse electric and transverse magnetic mode. So right now, whatever the mode we are discussing, it's nothing but a TEM mode, which is supported by this particular two parallel wires line. So these are the two different equations of the potential and current. First one is the Gauss law and second is the Ampere circuit law. So using this equation, we are interested to find out the overall potential as well as the current for the two different conductor which have some kind of a transmission line. So now suppose you have a simple parallel wires. So you can see over here the first figure is indicate the two parallel wires, or you can also assume the single wire, but the single wire is located above some ground plane, and this total wire is divided into a small part, and the small part which is mentioned, which is a differential displacement or differential section over here. So you can see why it is in a Z, because we are putting this conductor or transmission line in a direction of the propagation is the Z. So if you see the overall structure have a divided into so many segments, delta Z, delta Z1, delta Z2 or delta Z3. And the overall length of the conductor, which is almost similar for this one. So what we are doing, we are just mentioning this equivalent circuit. We are mentioning this conductor in terms of the equivalent circuit. So you can see over here, the first delta Z part have some resistance, have some inductor, have some conductance and the capacitance. And this structure is repeated throughout your transmission line, delta Z, delta Z, delta Z and delta Z. Or you can consider the increasing form like a delta Z1, delta Z2, delta Z3 and delta Z4. So the difference of this initial structure, whatever the equivalent circuit we are discussing with this one, they are multiplied with a delta Z part. You can see R is multiplied with a delta Z, L is multiplied with a delta Z, G is multiplied with a delta Z and C is also multiplied with a delta Z. So meaning of this one is, now this RL, GC are the distributed elements. For only this delta Z region, you are getting RL, G and C is the constant. But whenever you are changing from delta Z to another delta Z, it may be possible the value of R is slightly changed. But in this particular region, RLGC will be the constant. So for individual section, the RLGC will be constant. That's why it's a resistance per unit length. So whatever the value or whatever the dimension of the delta Z is nothing but what? It's in terms of the meter or maybe centimeter or the micrometer. It have a length of your transmission line in which you are putting your transmission line. So right now we are putting in a Z direction, so that's why the each and every parameter RLGC which is multiplied with a delta Z part. So we are utilize this equation because we are utilize this graphical form of your transmission line, and we are mentioning the equivalent circuit or equivalent KVL and KCL for this particular transmission line. So now we are applying some voltage and we are trying to find out the overall voltage as well as the current, and we find out the overall potential as well as the current. So how we can apply it? For that you can apply the KVL, and the main reason is the KVL and KCL have one of the limitation is, if I want to apply the KVL, you must require the overall circuit have a constant voltage and current. Now it may be question, why you to divide this in a small segment? The reason is in this particular part the potential as well as the current will be changed because RLGC will be changed. RLGC will be changed for the individual delta Z segment. So if I want to apply the KVL, you must require the overall voltage and current should be the constant throughout your circuitry. So if you see the any one of the single segment, either first, second, third and fourth, you can take any one of the segment and you can apply the KVL and KCL over here, because in this particular segment 1, 2, 3, 4 you are getting the constant voltage and current. The reason is RLGC will be the constant throughout the delta Z1, delta Z2, delta Z3 and the delta Z4. So we have taken one segment over here. You can see this figure is indicate RLGC, which is only the single structure which have a starting with a Z. Consider Z is equal to 0 and we are moving in a direction of the propagation. It means Z plus delta Z, very small segment we are increasing. Then we can apply the KVL and KCL over here. So you can see the direction of the propagation is Z, and you are taken the end point is the Z plus delta Z. So the length of this particular wire is nothing but a delta Z, because Z is over here, Z is this. So if I subtract this, this is the Z minus Z is cancelled, only you are getting the delta Z. So we have just taken the delta Z segment from your conductor which have some constant R, L, G and C. Now we are applying the KVL. So consider one of the left hand side which is connected with input voltage and the output side. Exactly the delta Z is not the output side, but you can consider they are moving towards the load. They are moving towards the load. So they are mentioning the voltage over here for the input side. It means it is a generator side. The voltage, applied voltage, it's the V, Z and T. Applied voltage is the function of Z as well as the T. Z is the direction of the propagation and T is the time varying behavior of your signals. And similar, at a end of the this particular structure or the segment where the Z plus delta Z is mentioned, where the voltage is V Z plus delta Z into T. Okay, the reason is whatever the input voltage at this side, it may be slightly changed whenever you are increasing the distance in a delta Z part. So that's why we are mentioning the potential at a location Z plus delta Z. This is only the difference. Okay, VZT, it's a potential at a Z equal to 0, and the VZ plus delta ZT, it's a potential at a another location where you are increasing the segment where dimension is delta Z. Same way, at this particular node, the input current is IZT, and you can see this is only single node where there is a conductor, conductance and capacitance are present. So the current is divided into two parts, one which is moving from G and C, and second which is moving towards the load side. It means in the next segment where there is a Z plus delta Z2 will be there. So you can see the current is divided into two parts. One is delta I and second is the I Z plus delta ZT. Like it's almost similar to this one. We are measuring the current at a different node. Like first is we are measuring at input side, that's why it is IZT, and second we are measuring at a location is IZ plus delta Z. Now we are applying the KVL over here. So you can see the structure, the input voltage. KVL means the overall input voltage which may be similar to the number of voltage which may be at a particular loop. So we are applying the loop over here and we are trying to find out the KVA. So how we can apply it? So first of all, you should know what is the input voltage for this circuit. It's a V, Z and T. So that's why you can see the first value is the VZT. So at this particular loop, we are just applying the KVL. Okay. Now this is the input voltage. This voltage is similar to whatever the loop current which is moving in this particular loop 1. So how we can write down? So you can see the resistance is present which carries some current is IZT. So that's why R delta Z which is multiplied with IZT. We are applying the current at this loop. So R delta Z IZT plus there is an inductor is also in a series. So you can write down this in terms of the L delta Z del I upon del T, because this resistance and inductor carry a same current, both are in a series. So that's why it's a L delta Z del I upon del T. This equation is coming from where? Already we discussed the potential as well as the current for the inductor as well as the capacitance. So this is the way you can find out the current associated with this particular current associated with this particular inductor. So you can write down del I upon del T over here. Okay. Remember this ZT, it's only the function. Whatever the in bracket you are seeing over here, it's only the function, means your V and I, they are the function of the Z and T. So we are reaching at this particular node. Now you can see the voltage is divided into two parts. The voltage they divide into two parts. Sorry, the voltage at this particular node which have a value, it's a VZ plus delta ZT. Now there is a two option. Either you can write down the how much voltage at this particular load where Z plus delta Z is mentioned. Another way is you just multiply with this current delta I and G and the C. Then you are also getting the similar answer. But we are interested to find out the potential. So easy way to you can mention it V Z plus delta ZT. This is the voltage which is appear at a this location Z plus delta Z, and they are the parallel connection. So if I'm mentioning the VZ plus delta ZT, or if I'm mentioning the multiplication of the G and delta I, and C and delta I, both are the similar. So this is the KVL for this particular loop. So till this, any doubt? Because this is only the important part, otherwise you can easily derive the equation of the KVL and KCL. Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, how we can solve this equation? You can see the left hand side is the potential at a some location. Location is Z. Right hand side you are getting also the one equation which have a potential at a different location. Different location means Z plus delta Z. Okay. So we are just from the right hand side we are moving this equation Vz plus delta Z t in a left hand side. You can see over here we are just moving this V Z plus delta Z in a left hand side, so it becomes a minus, and to make it the positive they are just separate out the minus over here. Clear? So overall equation they become plus because Vz is plus, but we are considering this is minus. So why it is? Because it may be possible you are measuring the voltage at a higher value, higher location. Like you are measuring the voltage is 1 meter and you are measuring the voltage is 10 meters. So Z plus delta Z is 10 meter and the Z is nothing but a 1 meter. So that's why we are subtracting from Z plus delta Z minus VZT. Clear? Now from this equation the remaining part of the right hand side is this one, R delta I delta Z I and plus L delta Z I delta I upon delta T. From this equation we are just separate out the delta Z because delta Z is common, and you just divide with a delta Z in a left hand side. So that's why you are getting the left hand side over here and the right hand side is similar. Now if you just concentrate the second equation on your screen and the left hand side, this equation is indicate the potential difference at a different location. So it's a basically what you can mention this equation in terms of the differential parameter with respect to Z, because whenever you're changing the location from Z, Z plus delta Z, Z plus delta Z2, Z plus delta Z3, your potential is difference is change. So that's why you can mention this equation is delta V upon delta Z, and this notation is similar to this one. So it's a differential voltage at a different location. Now finally you are getting this equation which is mentioned on your screen, del V zt divided by delta Z equal to Ri plus del I upon del T. I'm not speaking this always the notation. Notation means the function of this I and V, because assuming this is I and V is the function of the Z and T, where Z is the direction of the propagation and T is nothing but a time. Now same way we are just applying the KCL at this particular node and we are trying to find out the current equation. So initially you are find out this potential equation. You can see the left hand side is nothing but a potential and it depends upon this two parameter, the resistance and the inductance. Now we are applying the KCL over here and we are trying to find out the current. So you can see this the similar figure over here, and at a node you can see there is a one dot is there where the incoming current is IZT and the outgoing current it's a delta I and IZ plus delta ZT. So at this particular node we are applying the KCL, so incoming current equal to the outgoing current. So you may be getting this equation over here, IZT equal to delta I plus IZ plus delta ZT. Now if you see the delta I, they have a current which is passing from the conductance as well as the capacitance. So whatever the current which is passing from this G, okay, so G is basically resistance. So if I multiply with this particular potential, then you are getting the current, because you are write down the equation of the current over here. So how you can write down the current which is passing from the conductance is delta I. So delta I can be modified according to this equation, because now at this location the potential is changed. Potential is Vz plus delta Z. So you can see over here we are not multiply with a Vz and T. We are multiply with a Vz plus delta Z, because at this location your potential is a location at Z plus delta Z. Same way we are also mentioning the current in terms of the capacitance, or the current which is passing from this C, which is C delta Z del V Z plus delta Z NT. So now hold the equation there in terms of the current. So if you see the second equation on your screen, you can see the left hand side is IZT and the right hand side is IZ plus delta ZT. So similar thing, we are moving this right hand side equation in a left hand side, because both are the current. So you can see the third equation, IZ plus delta ZT minus IZT here with a delta Z. Delta Z is coming from where? From the right hand side you can see the delta Z is common. Delta Z and this one, this delta Z is common. So you just separate out the delta Z part and you just divide with the left hand side. So this right hand side is as it is, and you can see the left hand side, it's a differential current at a differential location with respect to Z. So you are measuring the current at a different locations. So this is nothing but a differential current in terms of the del by del Z equal to, you are getting the right hand side equation, which is nothing but a GVZT plus C del V Z upon T. So this two equation, first one is this one and second is this one. This is called the voltage as well as the current of this particular transmission line. So finally we are mentioning this equation over here. It's a del V upon del Z equal to Ri plus L del I upon del T, where V and I is the function of Z and T. Similar, by applying the KCL, you are getting del I upon del Z equal to GV plus C del V upon del T. In same case, V and I is the function of the Z and T. And in this equation, you can see the potential or the voltage, which depends upon the resistance as well as the inductance. And similar, the current depends upon the capacitance as well as this G. Now, what we are doing, we are just mentioning this potential as well as the current, which is nothing but a transmission line equation. This equation is considered as a transmission line equation for the time varying behavior, because you can see the parameter with respect to time over here. Del by del T term is present over here. So this is called the time domain equation of your transmission line. So many times this question is asked, derive the equation, derive the potential as well as the current of the transmission line equation, then you have to prove till this equation. Now what we can do, instead of this time domain, you can also represent this equation in a frequency domain. It's very easy, because already you have to convert this del by del T in terms of the frequency. So for del by del T, it's basically you can convert by applying the Z transform, or you can apply the Laplacian over here. Right? They are applying the Laplacian. So that's why del by del T term they are mentioning in terms of the J omega. So how you can modify this equation in terms of the time domain? You can see the first equation, del V by del Z equal to Ri plus L. Now this del by del T term is equal to J omega. So this equation, L J omega I, L J omega I. Okay. So what we are getting, you can see the last two equation they are mentioning in terms of the frequency domain, or you can consider as a phasor form. So if it is asked derive the phasor form of your transmission line equation, then you to derive till this. Phasor form is nothing but a frequency domain representation. So this equation del V by del Z, in this case they are mentioning with a Vs equal to R plus j omega L. They are separate out the current because I is common over here. You can see IZT and IZT, which is common. But in terms of the frequency domain, they are just mentioning it's only the I. So, and the second equation, instead of the del by del T, they are just putting the j omega over here, and the V is common. So that's why del by del Z is equal to G plus j omega C into Vs. So this two equation, the first two equation you can see on your screen, it's a time domain representation of your transmission line equation, and the second equation means the last equation on your screen, which is mentioned with a box, which is called it the phasor form of your transmission line equation. Now these two equation, like a, you can see they are multiplied with Vs and Is over here. Instead of the VZT, they are mentioning the Vs and Ys because your potential and the current, which is the function of the direction of the propagation Z as well as the T. So they. So this two equation, V, Z and T and I, Z, T, we are mentioning in terms of the magnitude as well as the sine wave. It means it's a function of the harmonics. So that's why you can see over here VZT and IZT, which is nothing but a real part of your Vs. It's nothing but your magnitude. We have just taken the real part of your signals, which is magnitude as well as the e raised to j omega t, because this signal, which is nothing but a time varying behavior, and e raised to j omega t is nothing but a cos omega t plus j sin omega t. So it's a basically harmonics. So this whole the part they are mentioning in terms of the Vs. So that's why you can see the Vs and Vs over here. So finally you are getting this two equation. Now it may be asked the second order differential equation, which is nothing but a wave equation. So how you can derive it? Whenever in an exam, if they are asking derive the wave equation in terms of the voltage and current for the transmission line, then you to take the second order differential equation. Right now you can see this equation is nothing but a first order differential equation. It's a first order differential equation. Okay, if I require the second order, you to just take the differential second time with respect to Z. So how you can derive it? You just see this two equation over here, which is almost similar to the first screen. Just take the del by del Z for this first equation. So what we are getting, del square V upon del Z square equal to, this all are the constant, R plus j omega is the constant, but you can apply the differential with respect to Z to the I, because I and V is only the function of the Z and T, but R, J omega, omega n is, it's not a function of the Z and T. So we can apply the differential parameter, it's only the IS. So what you are getting, R plus J omega L del I upon del Z. And you can see del I upon del Z you can mention from this equation. It means you can use the second equation. So whenever you are utilize the second equation, you can multiply with this one. you can see del square V upon del Z square equal to this is equal to del I upon del Z, and the del I upon del Z, you can replace this equation with a G plus j omega c Vs. So finally you are getting the second order differential equation, which is the second derivative, R plus j omega L G plus j omega c or Vs. Same way, if I am taken the second order differential equation for the second equation, del by del Z into del I upon del S, then you are getting the similar equation but in terms of the current. Now you can easily identify it over here. Whenever discussing about this reflection coefficient and transmission coefficient, whenever you are changing the medium, you are getting one term which is considered as a propagation constant. So at that time we are discussing this propagation constant we derived in a next chapter where we are discussing about the transmission line. So you can see this multiplication of the R plus j omega L and G plus j omega C, which is considered as your propagation constant. Clear? So this equation is nothing but your gamma square. This equation is nothing but a propagation constant. Okay. So now same way, instead of this R plus j omega L, G plus j omega C, they are replacing the gamma square over here. So this equation on your screen, del square V upon del Z square equal to gamma square Vs. This is called the wave equation of the current as well as the voltage. So any doubt till this?
No,
Hello.
sir.
So I think in a next lecture we try to find out the solution of this equation. So you can see we derive these two equations. One is the wave equation and second is the transmission line equation in terms of the voltage and current, and the third one is the in a phasor form. So this gamma is nothing but your two components, which is the alpha and beta, which is already discussed in a last lecture. Alpha is nothing but your attenuation, because if you see this equation, R is present. R is related to what? It's a resistivity. Because of the resistance, your amplitude signal strength will be degraded. So that's why the alpha is the attenuation constant, and you can see the C and L is present, which is nothing but your beta, which is the phase shift constant. So I think next part we discuss about how we can find out the solution of this equation, and based on this we derive the two important parameter. One is the characteristic impedance, and second is nothing but a reflection coefficient. So at least just read one time, so you may be getting the overall idea how we can find out the wave equation. It's very easy. If you know the figure, you can easily write down the mathematical equation for this particular transmission line. So taken the attendance. Okay, your lecture is finished now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.